Welcome to the Mystery College podcast. Today we have a special guest, Chris Guillebeau. He is a New York Times bestselling author. He's written books like The Art of Non-Conformity, his most recent book, Time Anxiety, and tons of other projects. He's explored like all 193 countries and is just an amazing guy. Has over 2,000 podcasts recorded with his side hustle podcast. Welcome to the show.
Hey man, thanks for having me.
Yeah, pleasure having you on. So let's go into time anxiety. So
Mhm.
can you help define for viewers like what exactly time anxiety is? Like how do you define that?
Mhm. It's an interesting phrase because when I first started researching it and talking with people, almost everybody had an opinion about it. Like even without having heard that phrase before, they were like, "Oh, I have that," or "I identify with that. I feel like time is running out, in my life, or I feel stressed about the day to day of how to spend it." And so I think ultimately it's like time anxiety is this fear of time being limited, which is ultimately true, and also the distress of the daily decision making of like, what do I do next, of all the things I could do, especially like in this age with all the different opportunities available to us. That's wonderful and amazing in lots of ways, but it can also be kind of overwhelming. And so it's like the sense that time is always slipping away. I'm not sure what to do with it. Do I just need to become a better manager of it? That's the direction a lot of people go in. And I think that actually leads you to feeling more distressed. And so time anxiety, like big picture, is just what do we do about this?
Mm, definitely. That makes a lot of sense. And I'm curious too because a lot of your projects are pretty phenomenal, right? Like having gone to 193 countries all before you're 40 years old, closer to 35, and amongst all the numerous other accomplishments you've made. I'm wondering how time anxiety may have played into that and played into with neurodivergence, right? Like myself, I'm also neurodivergent. So like I've had spurts where I get a lot done, a lot accomplished, and then a lot of downtime in between different projects. So I'm wondering how like time anxiety might play into like the joy of pursuit, like one of your books even where you do a big quest, a major quest, and seeking purpose.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot there. I'm not trying to do less. I think that's a good maybe distinction. Is like I'm not trying to be a minimalist. And even though I was really stressed about time, it wasn't like, oh, I need to just like pare down. Like, no, I like having goals and like doing different things. It was fun to go to every country in the world. Like, I think challenge makes us better and so on. But at the same time, I found myself just really feeling overwhelmed of like, what am I supposed to be doing right now? And what is the greater purpose to it? And then you mentioned neurodivergence. I think like, I've always like, I guess I've always been neurodivergent, just like most people who identify with that, but we don't always have the awareness of it or the knowledge of it. And in my case, like I was diagnosed with ADHD as a kid and then again as an adult, but there's not a whole lot of education that goes in with that process, like even as an adult, when I got like re-diagnosed, because I was struggling to write that book, The Happiness of Pursuit, it was helpful to like have a diagnosis and I took medication. That was also helpful, but nobody taught me anything about like hyper focus and burnout and like, oh, okay, you are able to like do a lot of stuff, but then your brain needs to take breaks, and why do you kind of filter things the way that you do, and what are some tools and strategies that can be helpful to you so you can just continue to be yourself. You don't want to change your whole personality, nor should you, because that comes with strengths, but it is helpful to learn how to kind of offset that as well. So I kind of went on my own journey as part of the process.
Yeah, absolutely. And in your year of like going through like the mental health newsletter, what were the key insights or realizations you and some of your readership had? What did readers share with you that they had gained through gaining more self awareness or practice, insight?
Yeah, there's a number of things. I guess I'll pick one for readers and then one for me. I wrote a post about time blindness, which is essentially this characteristic that many of us have of overestimating or underestimating how much time something takes. And a lot of people are chronically late to things. They're like always running late to meet their friends, and it's like a running joke. but they also feel really bad about it. Like most people who are frequently late don't actually like that. They know it's not good and it stresses them out. Um, and a really simple thing you can do is just to allow like 10 to 15 minutes more for transitions, like allow more time than you think that you need. So this is obviously a very simple observation. It's not like groundbreaking advice, but I noticed like when I shared it and people started doing it, it actually made a really big difference in their lives. And I think a lot of people are worried about, it's like, oh, what am I going to do with all this extra time? And if you are often 10 to 15 minutes late to things, you're probably not going to switch to being 10 to 15 minutes early. You're just going to be on time, and that feels good. So like understanding that we are not good at estimating time, we shouldn't even be trying to like do that, in our head. We've got plenty of other things to focus on cognitively. I think that was helpful for people. I actually put it at the top of the manifesto in time anxiety. It was like, here's some things you can do. And the number one thing is allowing more time for transitions. Now, for me, I think, I also like wanted to write a book that would change me. Like most of my books come from my own like experience, and I'm exploring this stuff and like, what does it mean, for me and hopefully for other people as well. But it's very personal. And so for me, there's a chapter in the book about how I've rethought the concept of legacy. I used to be really into this idea of like, oh, we need to leave a legacy, and kind of come around to thinking like legacy is not something that's really within our control. Some people do leave a legacy, but there's all kinds of external factors and circumstance that's involved there. So it's not great to have a goal in which you have very little control over. So a better goal, at least for me, is like, okay, instead of leaving a legacy, I can live well. And of course, I have to think about what does live well look like, and it's different for you than for me and such. But I think there's also some things that they have in common, and living well is not necessarily like living hedonistically or like completely being self-absorbed. It's like pursuing your own goals and doing stuff for yourself, and also thinking about like what is our contribution, to others, and what are acts of service that we should do that will also kind of help us to live well. So that's something that I kind of that helped to change me along the way.
Mm, mm. Yeah. So, I'm wondering how, like, say, like when you talked about with your manifesto, putting the time, like building up more time transition as like one of the biggest rules of that. Um, what are some other like time rules that are in use towards the like say like the happiness of pursuit? Like when we set out for goals in our life, and then we take into consideration what goals are within our locus of control versus what's not within our locus of control. And I think you said that beautifully.
Yeah, well, thank you. And yeah, so I think it's helpful to think about time rules. I think you use that phrase. Like most of how we spend our time, is kind of governed by these internalized rules, and we probably never set out to like identify what they are. A lot of them were just kind of absorbed through childhood and adolescence, and maybe through our attachment styles and early adulthood experiences as well. And so we might believe, for example, like, oh, we have to be like super responsive to people. Oh, if we start something, we have to finish it. And I think these are values that are helpful to question a little bit, and just to ask, like, is that serving you? Like, is that good for you? Because ultimately, especially in this day and age where it's like the information is unlimited, and contact and communication is also unlimited, and it's like this fire hose, and like people try to keep up or to like stay current, and it's really not possible. Like and the better you get at trying to be current, or like trying to like answer every message, or like be the most responsive person, then the more work you end up creating for yourself. Especially if you work a job, like you get better at working your job, you get more work. Like that's the reward for it. So maybe kind of rethinking that is helpful to people. Like, what are the time rules that will serve you better? And maybe one thing is like deciding, okay, today I have 3 things I need to do. I'm going to do these things, and if I finish these things, I'm going to just celebrate that fact and acknowledge it before I go on to like start something else. Because we live in this culture where nothing is ever done, and so if you can set some limits for yourself, that's also going to help you feel more relief.
Yeah, setting limits, setting priorities, and then and figuring out how to tune out the noise and tune in to more signal. But in order for us to know what that signal is, that we need to define that signal. We need to get a sense of that. So, what are some ways that you, for yourself or you guide viewers to setting and prioritizing their values in their life, and then figuring out how to best use their time or have their time work for them?
I think a really simple question you can ask yourself, and most people will have an intuitive answer to this, is what matters to me right now? And so you're like, okay, what matters to me right now? If you just stop and think about that and answer that question, in your mind, it kind of gives you a little bit of a compass point. And so it's like, three parts to it. Like what matters? Okay, most things do not matter. Like most things are like here and gone. And we attach too much importance, to things. Like we have like one speed of life, urgency that we're operating at, and that's not sustainable or good for us. So what matters? Like how do I filter out, the signal, as you said, to me, which is like, okay, this is what matters to you. It's different from what matters to me, and for every other person. So what matters to me, that's personal. Okay, now I have individualized it a little bit. Well, that's helpful. Maybe I'll think of some crazy goal like going to every country or whatever. And it may even be the kind of thing that other people don't understand or don't get, or they think it's silly or something. That's often a good clue. Like that's a clue of, oh, this is something that maybe you should pursue because it's very personal to you. So what matters to me right now? So that's the third piece is like, okay, there are different seasons in life, and we have times in which we're focusing on one thing versus something else. So right now, what matters? What matters to you right now? If you start with that, then that is very helpful in making decisions, like making decisions for the rest of your day, for your week, for whatever planning period you think about. There's lots of other things you can do, but I think that's a starting point. And as you notice, like as you go through your day and you notice, like, how does this make me feel? And do I want more of this thing or do I want less of this thing? That's also a good clue. And over time, I think you want to do more of what brings you energy and less of what drains your energy.
Mm, Yeah, I really appreciate and value that analogy of seasons in life, and also gauging what things give energy, what things take away energy. I think those things really are indicative of ways people can really assess their values, and then they can reestablish a better relationship with time that's not driven by anxiety, but driven by mindfulness, empowerment, and a sense of purpose. So I'm wondering, just because like you had such like a amazing hero's journey arc between like, you know, traveling as an adventurer, slaying your own dragons, taking the gold and bringing it back to the village, right? You've gone
Right.
full Joseph
Mhm.
Campbell's hero story.
Sure.
Um, like, and also helping empower people through entrepreneurship and, and setting their own course in life, right? So like now that you're at the current stage you are in life now, like your age, where you are with your wife, extended family, other projects. How do you feel like your season is now, or how your seasons is transitioning? I ask as someone who's, you know, recently married in my late 20s now, and also
Mhm.
like kind of thinking about life very differently.
Yeah. Well, congratulations. I mean, that's a season to pay attention to, especially in your late 20s, because you're going to cross over, into this new age, and probably some of the listeners as well, mystery college. Um, it's a good time to be thinking about things. Well, let's see. For me, trying to think about the bigger question. For me, I feel very fortunate. I spend most of my time doing things that I want to do. I like writing books. I like producing events. I started a new event earlier this year called Neurodivergence, which is all about neurodivergence. We did our first project for that in Austin in March. We're going to be back in the spring next year to do the bigger and better version. So I spend a lot of time working on that. It's funny. It's like a 5 day or three day event, really, but you spend like a year like working on it. So I'm glad to be doing that again. Um, yeah, I don't know. I think about what am I excited to do, and hopefully, what am I excited to do that also kind of connects with something that's interesting or useful to people. And um, as long as I'm hitting that intersection a little bit, I'm not too worried about anything else after that. I'm not super strategic about things. I kind of go in that direction of like motivation and hopefully service.
motivation, service, and then and leading with your intuition and insight. That's awesome.
Yeah, a little bit. And
Awesome.
so you get, like, as you do things, you get experience, right?
Mm.
Like, and for you as well, like you've been to what, 30 plus countries, and I think you had like an accelerated, education, like I did as well. And so like these things give you experience, and now you got the podcast and everything else. It's like they're building blocks. And so everything that you have done so far is going to lead to the next thing and then the thing after that.
Mm. Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. And is there any last bits of information, advice, or insights you'd like to share with viewers?
I mean, this has been a great conversation. Thank you for asking me. I'll just leave people with maybe the mission of the art of nonconformity. As exemplified for 15 plus years now. It's that you don't have to live your life the way others expect. And throughout your life, you're going to encounter all kinds of people who have different ideas for you, and their own preferences, and that's fine. That's normal. But you can also like have your own ideas and preferences, and you can do good things for yourself and for others at the same time.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, thank you so much. And is there any other places where people can reach you, follow you?
I mean, Jake, anywhere is good. The new book is called Time Anxiety, as you mentioned. Thanks for that. That's the biggest thing I'm doing now. Neurodivergence.org is the new conference. And some of my writing these days is at yearofmentalhealth.com.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you so much for your time. It's been a pleasure.
Dude, thank you.